Welcome to Literary Insights. This is the summary of the book Originals, How Non-Conformists Move the World, Adam Grant. If you like this content, please consider subscribing and liking this video. Successful entrepreneurs and pioneers are not extreme risk takers. They carefully calculate risks and take calculated risks, not dangerous ones. Studies show successful entrepreneurs avoided seriously risky behavior as teens. Successful entrepreneurs and originals care about social approval, they are not nonconformists. Studies show concern for social approval is unrelated to entrepreneurial success. Even great leaders like Lincoln cared about public opinion. Originality is a choice, not a fixed trait. People can become more original by questioning defaults and seeing their roles and skills as malleable. An experiment found Google employees were happier and more productive when they viewed their jobs as changeable. The book provides strategies to champion new ideas, including 1. Recognizing promising new ideas. Look for ideas that are useful, novel, and actionable. Consider ideas that challenge defaults and provide objective evidence. 2. Communicating new ideas effectively. Frame the idea around shared values and priorities. Build alliances and rely on others to help promote the idea. Speak to both benefits and concerns to address skepticism. 3. Developing originality. Question assumptions and defaults. View your skills and roles as flexible rather than fixed. Take calculated risks by maintaining a stable risk portfolio. Look for vujada moments of seeing the familiar in a fresh way. 4. Leading as an original. Accept that change is difficult for people. Build trust and help others to see how they can revise their roles. Frame change as an opportunity to improve skills and job satisfaction. Promote psychological safety so people feel comfortable challenging the status quo. In summary, the key message is that originality and risk-taking are choices, not traits. By questioning assumptions, reimagining roles, and taking calculated risks, people can become pioneers in their own spheres of influence. The strategies and examples provided show how to champion original ideas, nurture original thinking in yourself and others, and lead change as an original. Success comes not from extreme risk-taking but from mitigating risks while pushing for small changes that can have big impacts. To spread new ideas and build coalitions of support. Choose the right audiences and tailor messages to their interests and priorities. Match the level of radicalness to the audience. Build coalitions by turning opponents into allies. Address their concerns and find common ground. Compromise when possible. Determine the right time to act based on external events and trends. Look for signs that audiences are open to new ways of thinking and conditions are right for change. Balance idealism and pragmatism. Have a vision but be willing to make concessions and meet others where they are. Move audiences in the desired direction one practical step at a time. Blend the familiar with the new. Connect new ideas to what people already know and believe to make them seem less radical. Frame as an evolution, not a revolution. Delay acting to choose the right time. Wait for conditions to become favorable before pushing for change. Rush ahead at the wrong time and face unnecessary obstacles. To evaluate new ideas accurately. Beware of overconfidence from past success or enthusiasm for novelty. Lack of expertise in a new domain leads to poor intuition. Analyze systematically and get external input. Seek input from peer creators and dissenting voices. They are best able to see potential in highly original ideas and provide honest feedback. Average feedback from managers or test groups is unreliable. Maintain an open, exploratory mindset instead of jumping to evaluate new ideas. Consider many possibilities before rejecting options as unrealistic. Creativity benefits from a divergent phase before converging on solutions. Travel and engage in artistic pursuits to gain breadth of experience. Exposure to diverse cultures and ways of thinking improves the ability to make unexpected connections and envision new ideas. Combine breadth with depth of expertise. When judging highly original ideas, focus on the viability and potential impact, not how closely they match current templates. Consider second and third-order consequences, not just immediate practicality. Recognize false negatives by avoiding narrow evaluations. Generate many of your own ideas to cultivate an ability to see the potential in ideas that initially seem strange or implausible. Familiarity with the generation process makes you more open to the ideas of others. Avoid dismissing options too quickly as not worth considering. Practicality and usefulness are key factors in evaluating new ideas and determining if they will be successful. Intuition and passion are important but need to be balanced with objective analysis. Some key principles include: 1. Look at track records and experience. The enthusiasm of advocates is not enough. They need relevant experience and a history of sound judgment and execution. 2. Test ideas and get feedback. Having others evaluate ideas helps identify weaknesses and limits overconfidence in your intuitions. Getting input from those with diverse, relevant experience is especially valuable. 3. Evaluate passion for execution, not just ideas. Enthusiasm means little without the ability and determination to implement an idea successfully in the real world. 4. Consider practical value and usefulness. Will the idea actually solve a real problem or meet a genuine need? Or is its appeal more theoretical or based on novelty? The Segway lacked sufficient usefulness for most people to justify its high cost. 5. The right time and place matter. Ideas that seem impractical in one context may gain traction when circumstances change. Carmen Medina's proposals became critical after September 11 and the growth of the Internet. Timing is key. 6. Communicate strategically. To overcome skepticism and gain buy-in, discuss weaknesses and limitations openly and honestly. This establishes credibility and prompts collaboration. Repeat your message to increase familiarity and comfort with new ideas. 7. Persevere through setbacks. Speaking up often meets initial resistance, as with Carmen Medina. But with willingness to fail, status and credibility can be gained over time. Dissent and advocating for change frequently require persistence in the face of opposition. In summary, intuition and passion fuel new ideas, but practicality, objective analysis, and good judgment determine which ideas take hold and stand the test of time. Strategic communication and perseverance in expressing new ideas can help overcome barriers to gain influence and shape progress. Exit refers to leaving a situation, while voice means speaking up to improve the situation. Persistence means dealing with a bad situation and neglect means reducing effort. Our response depends on how much control and commitment we feel. Medina spoke up again because she was committed to her work and believed her new boss would support her. Repetition and familiarity helped get leadership on board. Disagreeable managers can make good advocates. Disagreeable people are comfortable speaking up and challenging the status quo. Agreeable people avoid confrontation and prefer pleasing others. Disagreeable audiences give critical feedback, helping others strengthen their ability to speak up. As Medina rose at CIA, colleagues became more open to her ideas. Middle managers were most dismissive. People at the top and bottom of status hierarchies have more freedom to deviate. Speaking up as a woman or minority is hard due to facing more penalties and stereotypes. Focusing on competence and mission can help overcome this. It's important to build credibility before exercising power. Medina and Dubinsky earned the right to speak up by delivering results. Exit and voice enact change. Exit is easier but allows the status quo to endure. Voice depends on lack of opportunity for exit. The key is voicing opinions and preparing to exit if necessary. We regret inaction more than action. Timing and delay can be useful. MLK's "I Have a Dream" speech became iconic, showing how waiting for the right time and place to act is useful. Rushing in risks the first-mover disadvantage. It's better to be a fast follower, learn from pioneers' mistakes. MLK procrastinated preparing his speech, allowing divergent thinking and more inspiring direction. Procrastination aids creativity by allowing new connections and flexibility to adapt to opportunities. Studies of science talent search winners show procrastination provides incubation time for creativity. Procrastinate strategically, not carelessly. Stay open to improvisation and timing. There is little evidence for a first-mover advantage. Pioneers often fail from scaling too quickly, risk-taking, not learning from mistakes, and rigid routines. Settlers learn from pioneers and adapt better. Timing is critical. Many original ideas/people fail by being ahead of their time. Some exceptions exist like technology or networks. Rushing to beat competitors is often a mistake. Waiting and learning from pioneers usually leads to better outcomes. Success is more likely to come from observing, learning, and adapting to the market rather than rushing into it. Some key points. Creativity develops over time through experimentation, not just sudden insights. Conceptual innovators peak early, while experimental innovators are able to sustain originality over the long run. To maintain lifelong creativity, take an experimental approach. Test out tentative ideas, make fewer concrete plans, and discover unexpected solutions. This balances the risks of fixed thinking as you get older. Alliances require shared tactics and values, not just goals. Groups with a history of similar methods readily form alliances, even if causes differ. Visionaries may have to disguise radical ideas to gain mainstream support. Tempered radicals tone down extreme visions to draw in allies and funding. Explaining how an idea works rather than why it's important can make it seem more plausible. The foot in the door technique introduces ideas gradually. Converting opponents and frenemies into allies can be very effective. They work hard to support the cause and understand counterarguments. But ambivalent relationships require vigilance, as behavior is hard to predict. It may be better to ally with clear opponents. Powerful ideas start from novelty but add familiar elements to resonate. Bambi in Africa with lions became the Lion King by incorporating Hamlet. The justice argument for suffrage failed until reframed as home protection. Radical thinking conceives ideas, but mediation translates them. Observation, learning, adaptation, and building alliances through shared values and tactics lead to greater success and originality over the long run. Rushing into action without these is less likely to succeed. Success comes from tuning into the environment and bringing others along, not imposing your vision. Frances Willard was a key leader in the women's suffrage movement. She used effective persuasive techniques to translate the radical idea of women's suffrage into familiar, palatable terms for mainstream audiences. This, tempered radicalism, was key to the movement's success. Willard linked women's suffrage to temperance, an issue that resonated with many. She presented suffrage as a means to an end, promoting temperance values, rather than an end in itself. This approach connected new ideas to existing values and made them more persuasive. Willard took a measured, moderate approach to advocacy that pushed boundaries without seeming too radical. She knew when more transparency and radicalism were needed within the movement, but when addressing general audiences, a tempered message was most effective. Her strategies provide lessons for effective persuasion and social change. Other leaders like Lucy Stone also used tempered rhetoric and arguments focused on women's traditional societal roles to advance suffrage. While splits between radical and moderate factions hampered the movement at times, its ultimate success came through tempered, unified leadership under Carrie Chapman Catt. The model of tempered radicalism, articulating progressive ideas in a moderate way, was key to the suffrage movement's victory. Though the radicals were essential for progress, the tempered leaders and rhetoric were most influential in shaping public opinion and policy. Their message to make the world better, in a gradual way, helped the movement triumph. In sum, the suffrage movement succeeded because its leaders were able to balance radical thinking that pushed boundaries with tempered, familiar rhetoric and arguments that resonated with mainstream values. This combination of vision and pragmatism created change in the face of opposition. The movement's strategies and leaders provide a model for effective social reform. The key message is that radical thinking and tempered pragmatism must be balanced to create change. Bold vision prompts new ideas, but familiarity enables their spread. The suffrage movement succeeded by linking progressive ideals to mainstream values through leaders who were tempered radicals. Their pragmatic yet purposeful approach provides lessons for achieving social reforms today. Most leaders encourage employees to bring solutions rather than just point out problems. However, this emphasis on solutions can discourage dissent by implying that critical voices are not valued. At Bridgewater Associates, Ray Dalio aims for idea meritocracy, where the best thinking prevails regardless of who offers it. Radical transparency and dissent are actively encouraged. Dalio sent a poll asking which colleagues were not speaking up enough. This revealed areas of genuine disagreement and led to open debate, helping avoid groupthink. Assigning devil's advocates is ineffective. Authentic dissenters who genuinely hold minority views are more compelling and lead to higher quality solutions. They also tend to be seen as more likable by groups. Building a culture where dissent is consistently encouraged helps combat conformity and bad decisions. Radical transparency is key. Leaders must show that critical thinking and dissent are valued. While solution focus is usually well-intentioned, it can backfire by discouraging open debate. Effective leaders foster idea meritocracy by seeking out authentic dissent and engaging in transparent discussions where the best thinking emerges, regardless of level or role. Groupthink is a risk for any organization. By cultivating dissent, leaders can gain more innovative and adaptable companies. The solution lies not in discouraging problems but in promoting courageous thinking and openness to new ideas. In summary, the key takeaways are: 1. Solution focus can inadvertently hamper dissent and idea meritocracy. 2. Authentic dissent and radical transparency combat groupthink. 3. Building a culture where dissent thrives leads to better decisions and adaptation. 4. Effective leaders seek out minority views and promote courageous debates where the best thinking emerges. 5. The solution is not discouraging problems but fostering transparent discussions and openness to new ideas. Does this summary accurately reflect the key points and arguments the author made? Let me know if you would like me to clarify or expand the summary further. Leaders should promote dissent and critical thinking to avoid groupthink. Ray Dalio of Bridgewater actively seeks out problems and dissenting opinions. Trina gave honest feedback criticizing Greg, Bridgewater's CEO, showing their commitment to merit over authority. Greg and Trina collaborated to share this disagreement as a case study, helping them understand each other better. Dalio's openness to feedback and willingness to question assumptions has fueled Bridgewater's success. The author challenged Dalio on prioritizing Bridgewater's principles. Dalio agreed they should be ranked, with think for yourself as the top principle. Negative thinking and expecting failure can motivate preparation and courage. Lewis Pugh used defensive pessimism to complete difficult swims. Leaders like MLK Jr. used it to fight injustice. For committed action, defensive pessimism is better than optimism. Reframing fear as excitement activates the go system and leads to better performance. Saying, "I'm excited," improved public speaking and test scores. Singing improved math performance. For uncommitted action, excitement and optimism are better. Pugh struggled to regulate fear before a North Pole swim. A friend suggested focusing on supporters, motivation, and legacy. Popovich trained activists in small acts of dissent, not big risks. Silverman shared customer stories to inspire skeptical Skype employees. Giving people a symbol, allies, small acts of progress, humor, and dilemma actions helps overcome fear and motivate change. Ash found one dissenter reduces conformity. Symbols, small acts, and humor show the crowd and oppressor's dissent is widespread and silly to oppose. In summary, the key themes are promoting critical thinking, using defensive pessimism and reframing fear for committed action, sharing authentic inspiration, and overcoming fear with allies, symbols, small progress, humor, and dilemma actions. Questioning assumptions, openness to feedback, and willingness to dissent from the crowd are characteristics of effective leaders and cultures. To inspire change, focus on losses from inaction, establish urgency, and overcome fear. Use humor and small acts of resistance to show people they are not alone. Build allies to find strength in numbers. Focus on victims, not perpetrators, to motivate constructive action. Express anger through discipline and empathy, not aggression. Channel anger toward remedies, not retaliation. Distraction and relaxation reduce anger. Question assumptions and generate ideas to increase originality. Let moderates lead if seen as extreme. Focus on progress to stay motivated when committed, but on progress so far when uncertain. In hiring, prioritize missing attributes to enhance culture. Do entry interviews to learn what brings new hires in and would keep them. Ask for problems, not solutions. Solutions reflect limited knowledge, problems tap broader thinking. Run innovation tournaments for novel ideas. Advance the best and provide resources to implement them. Picture yourself as the enemy to create urgency. Discuss biggest threats and turn them into opportunities. Invite broad input into idea generation and evaluation. Involve more people to tap their creativity and make them better judges. Do, opposite day, to challenge assumptions. Ban visceral words like love and hate. Require reasoning instead. Unearth genuine dissenters, don't just assign them. Invite criticism to show you value unpopular ideas and open communication. Ask children how role models would act to free them to act. Link good acts to moral character. Explain how bad acts hurt others to build empathy and amend wrongs. Focus on values over rules. Discuss why values matter. Use techniques like jigsaw classrooms that encourage new perspectives and interests. To motivate, establish what's wrong, then envision what could be. Focus on losses and threats, not gains. Cultivate dissatisfaction with the status quo. Establish urgency. Evaluate choices as gains or losses. Loss aversion means choices framed as losses spur risk-taking to avoid loss. When change seems risky, focus on losses, not gains. Over 50% of leaders fail to establish urgency, clinging to the status quo. Successful change agents first convey what's wrong, then the solution. Lucy Stone was a pioneer in the American women's suffrage movement in the 19th century. She helped found the American Women's Suffrage Association and edited a women's rights publication. However, her contributions have been underrecognized relative to other leaders like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Stone faced substantial obstacles due to her gender, including restrictions on education and employment opportunities. However, her parents and husband were supportive of her activism. She worked as a schoolteacher and lecturer to gain independence. Stone was an eloquent orator and helped rally supporters to the suffrage cause. However, her speeches were not always recorded or transcribed as frequently as her male counterparts. Her words and ideas reached smaller audiences as a result. Stone's radicalism and critiques of religion and marriage provoked discomfort in some more moderate suffragists. Her insistence on inclusiveness and alliance building across racial and class lines was ahead of her time but limited her influence, especially in the South. Stone consciously avoided cultivating a memorable personal brand or legacy. She believed the movement was more important than any individual. While principled, this stance contributed to her being undervalued in histories of women's suffrage. Stone deserves more recognition as a pioneering feminist activist and role model. The central argument is that Stone's marginalization was due not just to her gender but also to her own choices and values, the social dynamics of the time, clashing ideologies within the women's movement, and a tendency for history to focus on charismatic individuals over institution builders. However, Stone's life and work offer important lessons in courage, conviction, and compassion. The key takeaway is that Lucy Stone was a pivotal yet underappreciated leader in the fight for women's rights. While facing immense barriers, she helped rally support for the suffrage movement through her oratory, writing, and network building. Her principled radicalism and emphasis on inclusion, though controversial, helped pave the way for future advancements. Stone's marginalization in history serves as an example of how both individual choices and systemic factors can lead certain change agents to be overlooked. But her life offers an inspiring model of moral leadership against steep odds. Lucy Stone was a pioneering leader in the American women's suffrage movement. She advocated for women's rights for over 40 years, beginning in 1847. Stone influenced and inspired other prominent suffragists like Susan B. Anthony. She helped unify different factions of the movement and negotiate the merger of two major suffrage organizations. Stone endured substantial adversity but never wavered in her convictions. Her dedication and perseverance despite opposition were instrumental to the movement. The author argues Stone deserves more credit for her role in advancing and shaping the women's suffrage movement. Her radical advocacy and eloquence likely inspired other early leaders of the movement. Stone gave her first public speech on women's rights in 1847. The movement did not gain mainstream support for decades, but Stone fought tirelessly for over 40 years. In summary, the author believes Stone was a pivotal leader who helped legitimize and propel the women's rights movement through her advocacy, unification of factions, and influence on other key figures like Susan B. Anthony. Her instrumental role in the early movement has been underappreciated. The key points are: 1. Lucy Stone was a pioneering women's rights advocate who shaped the movement for over 40 years. 2. Stone inspired and influenced other leaders like Susan B. Anthony. She helped unify the movement and negotiated the merger of two major suffrage organizations. 3. Stone endured substantial criticism with unwavering dedication. Her perseverance and radical advocacy were instrumental to the movement. 4. The author argues Stone's pivotal leadership role in the early women's movement has been underappreciated. She deserves more credit as a key figure who helped legitimize and propel the cause. 5. Stone gave her first speech on women's rights in 1847, long before the movement gained mainstream support. She was advocating for women's suffrage decades ahead of her time. Does this summary accurately reflect the key points and arguments the author made regarding why Lucy Stone deserves more credit and recognition for her role in the women's suffrage movement? Let me know if you would like me to clarify or expand the summary. Here is a summary of the entries. The entries reference a variety of names, works, concepts, experiments, and historical events. Names. Referenced individuals include artists like Leonardo da Vinci, leaders like Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela, psychologists like Abraham Maslow and Todd Lubert, business figures like Edwin Land, Sheryl Sandberg, and Marissa Mayer, and TV executives, investors, professors, researchers, and authors. Works. Referenced works include books, example Lean In, Made to Stick, The Lean Startup, movies, example The Lion King, music, paintings, example The Last Supper, and the Lord of the Rings book series. Concepts. Discussed concepts include creativity life cycles, logic of appropriateness versus consequence, emphasizing gains versus losses, and listing positive features. Events. Referenced events include the 1963 March on Washington and the early development of technologies like the Magnavox Odyssey gaming console and Kodak film. Experiments. Referenced experiments include one on optimal line length and one using Legos. The entries do not appear to follow any particular order or have an overarching narrative. They seem to refer to a variety of topics, examples, and ideas related to leadership, change, creativity, psychology, history, media, and business. The references are fairly short, ranging from a sentence to a few paragraphs. Does this summary accurately capture the essence and scope of the entries? Let me know if you would like me to clarify or expand on any part of this high-level summary. Here is a summary of the key references. Robert McCrae is a psychologist known for developing the Big Five personality traits model. William McCune and Michael McDonald are professors in mathematics and philosophy, respectively. Carmen Medina is a former CIA analyst known for advocating for dissent and whistleblowing. She has written about her experiences facing retaliation in the agency. Meena is an Indian activist working against human trafficking and for women's rights. Deborah Meyerson is a professor known for her work on tempered radicalism, or making gradual change from within organizations. Rob Minkoff is a film director known for movies like The Lion King and Stuart Little. Paul Molitor and Omar Moreno are former Major League Baseball players. Akio Morita was a Japanese businessman who co-founded Sony Corporation. Mary Morse is a professor who has studied creativity and innovation. Slobodan Milosevic was the president of Serbia and Yugoslavia, known for human rights abuses and war crimes during the violent breakup of Yugoslavia. Peter Thiel is an entrepreneur and investor known for founding PayPal and Palantir Technologies. He aims to fund ambitious new companies. Boris Tadic is a former president of Serbia known for cooperating with the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. Gerard Tellis is a professor known for his work on first-mover advantage and disruptive technologies. Frank Sulloway proposed that later-born children may be more open to unconventional ideas since they have to find their own niche, an idea known as birth order effects. Victoria Woodhull was a leader in the American women's suffrage movement. She was the first woman to run for U.S. president. The Women's Christian Temperance Union was a women's organization that fought for prohibition and women's suffrage.